What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm trying to pin a comment, but it's not letting me. Alright.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
So you're pro-life?
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a very complicated issue, and I've actually vacillated between the two sides a lot. But um, I think there's kind of two different discussions that you can have. The first one is whether a fetus at any month is a human life. I think most people, I hope me and you can agree that it is in fact a living organism, but whether it constitutes as a human is a different discussion. And then the second discussion is whether body autonomy, whether that as a right is more important than the right to life. Those are the two discussions, the major discussions that I see at least. So the reason I'm pro-choice is, again, this is only for the second discussion, but I think body autonomy is more important than the right to life.
I see.
So even if you admit that you're that this is ending a life, a living being, I still don't think you can tell someone what to do with their body.
I see. So, I think ending life of a human being is a big thing, right? Like, it's a big deal, bad thing.
Mhm.
And I don't think the negative that comes of telling someone what or what not to do isn't equal to the negative that comes of ending a life.
Yeah, I would typically agree. But I mean, here's an analogy that kind of like represents my thinking. Like, if you, if I were like dying of a certain disease or condition that's maybe affecting my kidneys, and I was like, the doctor told me I'm guaranteed to die, I couldn't come to you and be like, hey, I need something from your body. I need you to take something out of your body so that I can live. I cannot force you to do that, even if it means saving my life. Like, even if it means letting me die, you have every right, in my opinion, to to have the right to do with to do what you want with your own body. Does that make sense? Or do you think we should live in a world where I can in fact force you to give me something out of your own body to save my life?
Well, my stance on it is just that if you're 18 plus, you should not have any abortions. Only circumstance where you should have an abortion if you're 18 plus is if you and the baby are gonna die. And if you are not 18 plus, then I think you should be able to have as many abortions as you want to. Um, so
So
I
you would
think
agree that I should be able to force you to give me your kidney to save
no,
my life?
no. Sorry,
So
let me.
then so then you would agree so then you would agree so I agree the analogy doesn't has some issues, but so you'd agree there are certain situations where the right to life is less important than the right to body autonomy. You would agree. You would concede that there are certain situations.
Right. So the reason I was making the distinction between below 18 and 18 plus, is because I think if you're 18
By the way,
plus,
I'm 20. I'm 20, so I don't know if you care about that, but yeah.
yeah, that's fine. If you're 18 plus, right, then I think you are old enough to pass it on to your kids, basically, who haven't lived 18 years. But if you're below 18, I don't think you've lived enough years, same as a fetus hasn't lived enough years, right? But if you're 18 plus, of course, I still don't think you've lived enough years, but I think you've lived enough years to pass it on to your kids.
Well, in that case, I would say in this situation, both people are 18 plus, and people in the comments are saying it's different because um, it's not a part of your body. And I agree. There's some issues with this analogy, but what I'm trying to say is there's certain situations where you would concede that body autonomy is more important than the right to life because your decision to not give me your kidney is effectively ending my life. The one thing stopping you is that it's part of your body. That barrier is the one thing preventing me from dying. So again, in that situation, what would you do, given that we're
Uh,
both 18 plus?
well, I wouldn't do anything. because the reason that I would say someone who is going to have an abortion, right,
Hmm.
shouldn't have that abortion, and like give that life to the baby instead, right? It's
Okay.
because the baby hasn't had a chance at life at all, and you've
Yeah.
lived way more life than that baby ever has, right? I think you should
Hmm.
give the baby a chance. But me saving your life isn't really gonna like well, assuming I would die from saving your life, I wouldn't do it. But
No,
if
no.
I
In this
didn't
case,
die,
you would
then I
live. In this case, it would be the exact same chances of
oh,
dying in terms of giving pregnancy.
then of
So
course I
the
would do
same.
it.
So then you would give me your kidney.
Yeah, it will if I wasn't gonna die and it would save your life, of course I would, yeah.
Oh, so you okay. All right. Well, that's interesting because a lot of people would actually say no, including
Mhm.
pro-choice people. But you're actually being intellectually consistent. Um, in which case we can talk about the other discussion, which is, I guess, yeah. Where do you think life? So why do you think a human fetus constitutes is on the same level, morally, politically, biologically, as a human, and deserves the same human rights?
I don't know if it deserves every single one of the same human rights, mostly because of course
Hmm.
it can't act on each and every one of those. But I think everybody in general, no matter what stage of development you're at, no matter how capable you are, deserves a right to life.
But why is it a life at that point? You have to establish that it's began its life.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say it's like began its life, but it's still alive. You know, it's like whether it's
Hmm.
like you want to classify it as like a parasite or a clump of cells or embryo, whatever. Right. It's living cells. If you get an
Well,
abortion, you're
everything's a clump
killing
of
that
cells.
thing. Huh?
Well, every organism's a clump of cells. That's a stupid definition. But yeah, I'm
Right. I
talking
mean,
about pro-choicers who call a fetus a clump of cells when they in
yeah,
fact
yeah.
themselves are a clump of cells. But yeah.
Um, the reason I said that is because like even if you do want to call it a clump of cells, like that clump of cells will eventually grow into something, right? Maybe a human clump of cells, right? It will eventually grow into something, and I think interrupting that
Hmm.
process is the moral wrongdoing.
Okay. So here's my thing. Humans kill things all the time. We eat meat. Tiny organisms on our body, on our face, on our skin, every time they die all the time. Living organisms die all the time. But we draw the line in the sand for human life. So a fetus, in the same way a cow is a living organism, contributes nothing. Like the same arguments we use to justify meat eating and justify why humans are morally superior can apply to fetuses, because the arguments usually go along the lines of humans have a higher capacity for intellectual thought. They have feelings, they have emotions, they can, they're self-aware. These are the things that distinguish us from a cow. A fetus hasn't achieved that yet. So while it may be a life, you realize we kill things that are on the exact same level as a human fetus. So
Right.
why so given that it has no life experience, why does and it has no capacity for thought yet, like, or at least its capacity for thought is the same as a cat.
Right. Yeah. I think it's because eventually it will experience those things the same as the rest of us. Like every human at one
Hmm.
point was at that stage, but that doesn't mean that every human at one point in their life was only as valuable as like a cow, you know, because a cow is never going to grow beyond that stage. And I think it's important to make the connection between like the present and the future, between like what it is now and what it will grow to be, and forcefully interrupting that process is what I think is wrong.
Hmm. So where would you draw? So you're not okay with any kind of abortion, even first
Um,
trimester.
right. I mean, I don't know about like any, but like, right, yeah. Generally,
So so let's say like someone to take a pregnancy test, they find out they're 1 month pregnant. Is it okay to get an abortion?
no.
It's not. Interesting. What so you think life begins at conception?
Um, yes. One second. I'm gonna set like a 5 minute timer, and after those 5 minutes, we can let someone else get on. You know?
That's right. You know what, dude? I think I'm actually gonna dip, do some research,
Okay.
and then come back or something.
That's okay. All right.
Yeah.
You did a good
I'm
job,
glad
mate.
we could talk though. Yeah.
Happy that you are respectful and everything and smart.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Good job,
Thanks for
dude.
the insights.
Yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Okay, who am I letting in next? Abigail. All right.
Hello.
After, hello. After Abigail, I'll let in Thomas, and yeah.
So you are like no exceptions other than being a minor?
I'm gonna set an 8-minute timer.
Okay.
Yeah, no exceptions other than being a minor, or if the mother and the child are both gonna die during childbirth or during pregnancy or whatever, right?
Okay, so none to SA, ectopic pregnancy,
Yeah.
anything like that. Okay, well, some of these debates don't like personal, but it's the personal stories that you need to understand kind of the person behind it. So if you're okay with it, if not, you can kick me off. I'll understand, but I would like to share my personal story.
That's okay.
Okay. So when I was 18, at this time I was celibate, I was very religious then, and I was, like, I had, you know, like, had sex when I was in high school, but then I graduated and I was like, I want to be celibate, like, want to do things right, go to school. And I was assaulted on my second date with somebody, and that resulted in a pregnancy. I was very pro-life at that point in my life, but I had always, like everybody wants to have a child out of love. Like I feel like that's such a huge thing. You want to get married and have kids with your husband. And this to me, like it was detrimental and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I felt like I was like, for the first time in my life, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like I genuinely felt as though I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't know how I can have this thing grow in me. Like I'm scared. I knew from just my past medical history that no matter how the pregnancy like occurred, how the baby was conceived, that pregnancy is a very dangerous thing for me because I'm anemic. And so when I bleed a lot, and was aware that that was going to be like a very big issue no matter what, no matter how. And I was like, do I want to risk my life, to give this baby up for adoption, have me like maybe not even possibly survive? Or do I just want to, not do it at all? And I talked with people at church, and I was so blessed to be so supported by everybody there. And somebody from church actually did help me pay for it. I took a series of pills and got to go on with my life. I was about 5 weeks along, and then I met my boyfriend, who was incredible. And about 7 months after we were together, I was on birth control. I started birth control when we got together, but then I started a series of antibiotics. And if you know, you know. Well, we end up pregnant, and I loved him. He loved me and decided to have the baby. And the craziest thing about it is when this baby was conceived would have been that same time that this other baby was due. And we had our daughter. She's 6 now. And her dad actually, he just passed away this last June.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so beyond grateful. Like, if I could go back, and I've heard people, in these arguments be like, you're going to regret that. If I could go back, I would have done the same thing because I didn't carry that one baby. I'm now able to have, like, my daughter. And that's why it needs to be a choice.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that in the original scenario, it makes sense that you would have chosen yourself, especially if that was an option. Whole reason that I say, even in cases of SA, people those 18 plus shouldn't choose themselves over the baby is because you yourself, if you've lived 18 plus years, right, then you let the baby also live that 18 plus years. When your 18 years ends at 18, then that baby lives the rest of its life out. That baby lived a full life, and you lived 18 years instead of, if you live a full life and that baby didn't live any, right? That's usually the stance that I take. And I think that it's good that your situation ended the way that it did and that your life is the way that it is now, right? But also people who are in the position that you were in the first place, like way back then, uh, it's you never know if that's going to be the case, right?
No, you
There's
never have any idea what's going to happen. You just have to hope for the
right,
best. But I
yeah,
mean, there's so much like, I advocate so much for it because, pregnancy can go a lot of different ways, whether you want the baby or not. Like, it's very
hmm
dangerous to give birth, even
hmm
like with modern medicine, because I mean, even people that aren't anemic can hemorrhage. And I did when I gave birth. I almost like died. I was passed out for a while, lost over half the blood in my body,
wow,
but I fought, and I don't know that I would have been able to do the same thing had I not really wanted the baby and felt like a connection to it.
hmm
And it's just so important to have that choice. And if there was a ban of abortion, like, abortion is more than just a procedure you have because you, for whatever reason, aren't ready, don't want, whatever that reason may be. It's the same term even if you miscarry and have to have the baby removed so that you don't go septic and die. So it's something that we need to have, and is healthcare, because it's the same thing. And people will sit here and tell you, well, no, like there are exceptions, like a doctor, like if you miscarry in these states where it's banned or whatever, then you can, like, then the doctor will help you. But that's not true, because even if a woman is miscarrying, like, the doctor has to perform an abortion. He has to remove it from her, even like if it's dead, if it's ectopic, excuse me, whatever
hmm
it may be, it still needs to come out of her, because otherwise, like, she'll go septic. But doctors in these states where they're banned, they can't do it.
hmm
Like, Amanda Thurman just passed away and she had a 6-year-old son because she did, and people are upset about this. She had an abortion. She took some pills, but not everything came out. And what was left, she went septic. But they started to help her when she went septic, but until she went septic and it became like a life or death matter, they could not help her. And
hmm
she died from it.
wow. Yeah, I'm anti-abortion in most cases, I'd say. And what you're talking about is not most cases. And I think in a lot of those cases of what you're talking about, right? I would say no to abortion, but in mostly what you're talking about, right? The situations that you're explaining and the stories that you're telling, right? I would say it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, but why?
Um, a lot of times that I do go more into depth about like how pro-life I am, right? People say like,
Mhm.
"Oh, change that because you're not pro-life," and it's like, well, if I change this to say pro-choice, people are going to be confused as hell when I start spewing my stance, you know?
Right? And it's okay. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, like, pro-life and pro-choicers have a lot more in common than they would like to think. It's just, because, yeah, obviously, like, nobody wants to, like, an abortion is not something that anybody dreams of having.
Right,
It's not something that you find you're pregnant, you're like, oh, I've been waiting for this, I can't wait
right,
to do this, because, for the most part, like, yeah, it's not something anybody dreams of. And then you have people that'll sit here and say people use it like birth control. Like, no, it is very expensive. And especially if you have to have a late term one for a medical emergency, that's $20,000 to $40,000 right there.
hmm
And just to have, I mean, even to get the pills, like, that was back in 2018, and they're more expensive now. But I paid like 600, like, someone helped me, but like $600. I was like, you can get birth control for free from a provider, like with insurance, or like
hmm
very minimal $5. Like, it's not a convenience, and it's not something. The statistic of it are like only 8% of women who have said that they've had an abortion, only 8% of them have said that they've had 3 or more. And I think it was a study done in 2022 or 2023, I can't remember. But most of the women, I'm bad with numbers to begin with, but like, most women, it was like their first one. Like, it's not something, but I think it is something that we, pro-life, pro-choice, whatever we are, we need to start taking a stance on, like, proper contraceptives and proper, like, if you're a man, don't just leave your seed wherever, because men cause 100% of unwanted pregnancies because it's your sperm that's needed, you know? So it's like, just, you don't want your girl to have to go through that, you know? Grab your stuff, pull out, be as safe as you can.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But I will let you go and talk to somebody else. Appreciate you. I'm
Appreciate
gonna
you
probably
too.
chill in here a little bit, but yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for telling your story. You did a great job. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Thank you, you too.
Okay, Thomas. And I know some other guy said he wanted to be brought on with you, but
Yeah. He's gonna argue about Catholicism and Christianity.
okay, that's okay then.
Yeah. So I would say I'm pro-life. I'd say the only exception I afford anyone is if there's a substantial threat to the life of the mother. I'd ask you, I'm not, most people don't answer these. They pivot and say, that's not legal, that's not common. I'm not asking whether it's legal or common, respectfully. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if someone were to unalive you, do you think they should receive the same punishment as if they were to unalive a newborn child?
No. I think most of all the people who do that don't, or not do that, of course. Newborn, right? Not in the womb.
Yeah. I'm
I
talking
think-
about post-birth. Do you think that
Meaning-
child is offered or is entitled the same amount of justice if someone unalives them as you? This is already a born child, by the way.
Okay, so is the question like they're legally doing it, or they're just doing it
I'm
like
talking about
same as a crazy person might want to
malicious, intentionally, and without any sort of compelling reason to do so. They are unaliving you. Should they receive the exact same punishment if they were to unalive a newborn child as if they were to unalive you?
No, I would say give them a worse punishment.
Okay. At least it's equal to or greater than. Now, would you say 1 day before birth? No exceptions. This is malicious. This is intentional. Same reasons as if it was you and the newborn. Would you say 1 day before birth, if it's malicious, it should be the same punishment or worse?
1 day before birth, if it's for punishment or malicious, should it be the same or worse?
Yeah.
I would say worse.
All of
if it was,
all of these are malicious and intentional with no reason to do so.
Oh,
Would you
okay.
say? Would you say 1 day before birth it should be the same punishment as any other person or worse?
well, I think it depends how you kill the baby, right? Like if it suffered or not, you know.
Let's just say it was instant. There was pain numbing. There was pain numbing, and it was basically instant.
Okay.
For
then I
all of
think
these cases, you and the newborn and the 9-month unborn, would you say yes? It should be the same punishment.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on a slippery slope. What about 7 months? What about 6 months? What about 4 months? And all the way down to conception? Would you say that throughout the whole pregnancy, if it's intentional, if it's malicious, if it is quick and without pain, should they all receive the same punishment as if they were to unalive you?
As if they were to unalive me, probably not.
Yeah.
But I'd say
Or
like,
worse. Or worse.
Oh, or worse than yeah, because
Okay, so you'd say even at conception, the punishment should be worse than if they were to unalive you. That's what your position is?
right. If it was all with malicious intent and intentional, then yes. But
Oh,
usually,
that's amazing. That's amazing. I really love that. I got nothing else to say. I'm just saying you're consistent, and these other people, they'll say, oh, well, I think it should be like a lesser punishment if it's conception, but I'm still pro-life. But 9 months, it should be, life in prison. No, you're consistent. I got nothing else to say. Keep fighting the good fight, man.
okay. Thank you, Thomas. Okay. I'm gonna add you now, Chocoats. What's your name?
Hi there.
What's up? I'm gonna give you 7 minutes. Okay.
No, that's fine. I'll probably be on for last.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm a girl, so I kind of understand the whole gist a bit more. I am 18, by the way.
Okay.
And I've had the feelings of being pro-choice for Thomas, it's a comment. Sorry. Sorry, Thomas. We're not going to debate anymore. I don't want to argue or anything. I just want to talk about. So I understand, like I get it. I get what pro-life people are saying, but for a man to say it, it's just. I don't. Why do you think women shouldn't have abortions? I just want to hear that.
Okay. I think women shouldn't have abortions because I see it as killing a baby and stopping it from ever being able to have a conscious experience. Also, I think that if you're pro-choice, it would make sense to say like, oh, a man shouldn't have an opinion on this because it doesn't affect them or it's not their bodies or whatever. But
Right.
you
And
know, it makes sense.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
That's okay. Yeah, you're on a time limit. It's okay.
So when you say you're anti-abortion, there's like no exception at all. What, or do you have an exception? I just want to understand that point.
Some exceptions, but it's very, very few.
Okay, and those are.
Well, if they're 18 plus and both the mother and the child are both going to die during pregnancy or during childbirth, I say you can abort it. If she's
Right.
below 18, I say get as many abortions as you want to.
And what's the difference between being 18 plus and like being a minor? Because when you're still like 18, I mean, I'm freshly 18, and if I was ever in a situation where, and trigger warning to like, if I was ever in a situation where there's grape involved, it's like I myself, I'm working a minimum wage job. I can't afford for it. I don't want to give it a shitty life, and I don't want to also carry my rapist's baby at the same time. Especially as what Abby said, first child from grape is just not. You know, do you have do you like?
Sorry, so you're bringing up a lot of points, so I'm going to write down some, not a man's choice, right? That was one of them.
Right, and I understand there's also a religious standpoint. Some people are religious, and God says abortion isn't okay. But you also have to think of it as what is best for you, and God isn't going to judge you for no matter what you do. I don't know. I'm not assuming your religion or anything like that. And then
This isn't a religious standpoint.
okay. Well, that's good to know. Someone said then give it up for adoption. See, that's hard because then for 9 months you're dealing with trauma of your rapist's baby, and no one wants that.
Right.
You know, that's how I see it as a woman, especially. I mean, I think that anyone who isn't a woman shouldn't have a say in it. I know that's just how I feel, my opinion, you know. So what's your thoughts on it being like grape? If
So
minor
you
and 18 plus, because I mean, no matter what age you're raped at, like that's trauma. So, and then what's like your standpoint on like minor versus 18 plus?
right. Okay, so like in total, I think you brought up like 4 points, right? There's
Sorry, I'm a little.
nonsense,
I have ADHD, so I'm a little. Keep going. I said I have ADHD, so I'm all rambling and
No,
talking.
you're okay. You're okay.
Go on.
Okay, so not a man's choice. Why 18? If the baby is a product of an R, right?
Right.
And if you're gonna not be able to support that baby, and it's gonna have a hard life, right? Okay, so first one, not a man's choice. I think if you're pro-choice, it's okay to see it that way, because in that case, you probably don't see it the same as I do, which I see it as you're like killing a baby and stopping it from ever having a life, right? And I think that's a bad thing. A way to relate it to you, right? A way to get you to kind of see it the way that I see it is with the Holocaust, right? Like Hitler was doing a bunch of bad stuff. I'm not Jewish, and like that wouldn't have affected me in any way. I wasn't even alive during that time, but I still think what he did was like terribly insane, you know, like horrible. Nobody should do that. And I see abortion as killing babies, so I think nobody should do that either. And
Do you
I think
compare? Do you think having abortion is comparable to Hitler?
the reason I was making that comparison is to show you my side, kind of, because I know that you don't see abortions as the same, but I know that you see the Holocaust as murder, right? So
Yeah,
by
correct.
showing you like that, you probably think that murder is wrong in that case. I think that murder is wrong in this case. You know?
Yeah. Do you mind if I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
So let's say, how do I word this? So there's murders, right? People going out of their way to violently, like I am going to kill this person. I'm going to have a good time doing it. There's that type of murder, or there's also like I don't see abortion as murder because it's like you're doing the best choice for you. You know what I mean? You're doing
Right.
like, let's say you're in a situation where it's grape, or you're gonna die from having the baby. I heard you say a little bit ago that you'd keep the baby and then you would die instead. Like let's say you're 18, you have a baby, the baby's gonna like end up killing the mom, so you end up dying in the baby. So would you say the mom or the baby?
If the mom's 18 plus, then the baby, because the mom has lived a life up to the point where she can become legally and socially acceptable as an adult, where the baby hasn't lived any life at all. But you're making a lot of points in a row here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna respond to them like one by
Oh
one.
yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, go ahead. Keep
Okay,
going.
so reason I think that I should express my opinion on the matter is because I think it's an extreme moral wrongdoing, right? Reason I made an analogy to Hitler is so that you can agree that what Hitler did is an extreme moral wrongdoing, right?
Right.
So you probably think you should be able to express your opinion about that since he was literally killing people, you know? I agree that it was not the same situation, which is why not everybody sees it the same, right? But that's why it's comparable. Comparing is just like taking two different things, making a connection between them. The connection is that at least I think it's murder, you know? And I'm trying to get you to see that, right?
No, yeah, I get it. But
so-
you're not comparing it to that, right?
No. I was just like making a connection there.
All
Trying
right, I get it. Yeah.
Okay, so why 18? For a couple different reasons. By the time you're 18, you're old enough to know how to make smart choices and bad choices, right? You know what a responsible choice is and an irresponsible choice, and you know the consequences of your choices, right? So in the case that you were having an abortion because the baby was the result of an accident, right? Because you didn't have safe S, right? Then I don't think you should get an abortion because you were old enough to know better, right? And you made a mistake anyways, you know?
Yeah.
In the case that it was like an R word, right? Product of an R word. You're 18, and the trauma of that R word, of course, is horrific, and the trauma of carrying that baby and giving birth is also going to be very bad for you. But I think it would be even worse, like mentally, if it was anytime before you were 18, while you're still a minor, right? I don't think you would be able to handle that as well as you could when you're an adult, you know?
Yeah. I mean, personally speaking, not to cut you off, I don't want to cut you off or be disrespectful or anything, but I mean, still as a fresh 18-year-old, I mean, I literally just turned 18 like a little over a month ago. It's like, I feel like no matter what age you're still going to live the trauma, no matter if you're a minor or an adult. I feel like there's no, if you're a minor, the trauma's not worse when you're a minor. Trauma's still trauma, you know what I mean?
Well, it is, but like, let's say, when a 30-year-old, let's say their parent yells and screams at them saying they're worthless versus like a 10-year-old, you know, it's going to have way different effects.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
the age that you are changes how you handle that trauma, and I think by the time you're 18, you can handle it a little better than you would be able to beforehand.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
I
great
get that. I mean, different ages, yeah, but I just think, especially if it's a grape, like it's a hard like. I feel like
Right,
no
yeah.
woman should be able to, like, a woman should be able to have a choice, especially under the grape circumstance, or like. May I say something?
Yeah.
All right. Let's say like you have like a girlfriend, or I don't know if you have a girlfriend, or
Dude.
Okay, well, what happens if she's like raped, or your daughter, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
In that circumstance, when you compare it to women in your life that you love and care about, would you want them to go through that trauma situation?
Right, so I wouldn't want them to go through any sort of trauma
Right,
in
of
general
course.
at all, right?
Of course.
But if she had to save a baby's life, I would think that she should, and she also thinks that she should. We both agree that even though it is a horrible situation, and that would be like one of the worst things that could happen to a person, it shouldn't mean that you take away a baby's life, you know? That like is a good segue into the next point that you made, right? Is what if it's a product of an R word, right? In that case, I don't think the baby's life has any less value than a baby who wasn't the product of an R word and was instead the product of like a consensual act between two
Which
people.
I agree, yeah, I agree.
You know? So both of their lives aren't any different, right? Or aren't valued any different, but they're going to be different, of course. So let's say someone had a baby by accident, completely by accident, but it wasn't like an R word baby, right? But then someone had a baby by accident from an R word, right? I don't think one of those babies has more of a right to life than the other one. I don't think you should kill either of them. even though one of them is going to cause a lot more pain to the person giving birth to it than the other one would, I don't think that justifies killing it, you know? Okay, do you want to
Right.
reply to that, or should I go on to the next point?
No, yeah. I see that. Even a grape, like the project of a grape baby, it shouldn't be looked at differently, like as a normal baby. Like, of course, they're both babies. Like, yeah, they're both babies. That's the point. But the point is, like, you got to do what's best for you as the woman and as someone who's going to experience. And I guess I'm talking about a lot about the grape point because it's like there's been experiences where I know people who've had to abort because of that, and it's like I was in middle school at that time, and like that was just mind blowing to me that a 13-year-old girl had to have an abortion because of grape, you know? So I just, what if, so one more thing before you bring up that next point of mine was like, what if it's a situation like that, like a 13-year-old girl?
I think if you're below 18, get all the abortions you want to.
I see.
Yeah.
On to the next point.
So you said, what if you're going to give the baby a hard life, or if you can't support it, or if it would put you in an unstable financial position, all kind of intertwined, right?
Yeah, or kind of like it'll like kill you. Like, what if this baby's gonna like kill you? Like the doctors tell you, hey, like you give birth, like possibility you're gonna die. I know you already kind of explained that, but just all as a whole general. Yeah, I keep going.
Okay, so if the baby's gonna have a hard life, I still don't think it's justifiable to abort it to save it from having a hard life at all, because they're also ending it from having any life, right? Like in the case that it's justifiable to abort babies just because it's gonna have a hard life, it would be justifiable to like abort any baby in the world that is gonna be born into poverty, you know, or like born in poor circumstances or born with abusive parents. It would be justifiable to kill that baby before it exits just so that it doesn't have to live that life. But people who are born in those lives, of course, nobody wants them to be living those lives because those lives aren't as good as they could be, right? But the people living those lives still want to be alive. Maybe not living that same life. Maybe they want their circumstances to be better, but they still want to be alive in general, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think you can really argue against that unless you say, like, they all wish they were never born, you know? Do you want to reply to that? Should I go on to the next point?
Well, I have, so again, I know another person. It's actually one of my sister's friends. She's pregnant right now, having a baby, but she did have an abortion when she had an abortion when it was a couple years ago, and now she's pregnant now, about to give birth to a baby. And again, it was just she was mentally unstable, financially unstable, didn't have a job, didn't have money, didn't have the support. So again, I just don't think a baby needs to live a sad life because it's like it's hard because it's like you want to give kids a beautiful life, and you don't want to mistreat your baby, you know. And I just feel like if you don't think you're mentally stable for it, like if that's going to destroy you even more, I just seriously think everyone needs to have the choice for what's going to be best for you mentally and physically. You know what I mean? That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I still have the same position on it. I think
I got it. I get you. Yeah. No disrespect. Like I'm not gonna. I know I've been watching some debates on here. I see how the people disrespecting each other about like their way. Like I'm like, you know what? I got my opinion. You got yours. But continue on.
So I'm gonna reply to Trinity Alexander first. He said, and they're not here to speak for themselves, RIP. Right, but if that truly were the case, that all of those people, or not necessarily all of them, but at least those people, right? If it would be justifiable to abort all of them, we would see like their self end rate be astronomically higher than it is now, right? But it's not. Everyone deserves a beautiful life. Arguing against the physical condition you will never experience. Yeah, I guess so, huh? Okay, so the next point is, what if you're going to die while having the baby? I think if you're 18 plus, then you should be willing to sacrifice your own life so that the next of your kin can take over, right? Because you're 18, right? You've lived up to being 18 when the baby hasn't at all, right? So let's say you lived up to 18, you're a full adult, and then you abort the baby, you live the rest of your life, right? Let's say that's 80 years lived, okay? Then let's say you don't abort the baby, you die at 18, and the baby lives up to 18 as well as beyond that, and that baby lives an 80-year long life, right? That would be, what, like 98 years in total lived across the two of you instead of only 80 years lived across just the one person who, the potential mother, right?
No, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's like, again, I'm not trying to compare this to myself, but man, if I just turned 18 and I was told, or even if I'm 19 or 20, and like, even if I was told if I was having a baby, or I mean, I'm sure it's happened to other people. I'm sure they've chose themselves for the baby because it's like, you have so much life to live. You really do have so
Yeah,
much life to live. You know what I mean? So it's
I agree.
like, so I don't know. It's like it's I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, I don't, because it's like you have a lot of life to live, and then it's like I just yeah, I'm a little confused. Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with the comments.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying. So the reason that I see it the way that I see it, let's say if I could choose between me or like a 1-year-old baby, right? Like if someone was holding a gun to my head, gun to a 1-year-old baby, right? I'd say, okay, shoot me instead, because I've lived 18 years. That baby has only lived one. You know, let that baby live. I would rather die than the baby. I would feel way worse if I survived and I was like, wow, like that baby just straight up died. It's like you didn't get to live like at all because of me, because I wanted to survive. You get what I'm saying? Maybe that's my morals.
Yeah,
Not everybody has to hold those morals, but I think the main reason is that not everybody sees like a 1-year-old baby as comparable at all to a fetus, which I disagree with. I think it should be comparable since it's only like less than a year apart. Well, assuming it's actually no, not less than a year apart. If it's 1-year-old, then a little bit over a year apart, right? Because it will eventually be there. So ending it earlier than that doesn't seem any better, at least in my head. But thank you for coming on.
thank you. You know, I will give it up to you for being very respectful. I'm glad that we kept this nice and respectful. So thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Ben Brown.
What's going on, John?
What's up, Ben?
Oh shit, it's Maddie. We were talking about Diddy.
Oh, yeah. You guys can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Or do you want to go first, Ben?
I was really just gonna ask him questions, clarifying questions. If you have an argument ready, you should probably go.
I'm going to put 10 minutes on the timer, by the way, okay?
Okay. Well, mine isn't really like an argument, but it's like, because what Thomas was saying, he was like comparing like a born baby, like a baby about to be born, like 9 months, right? To like saying like that's an abortion. But to me, like that is murder, since the baby is fully developed at that point. And do you see abortion like as soon as it's like conceived and like you get a positive on the pregnancy test?
Yeah.
Okay, for me it's like anatomy, science, all that. So it's mainly like cells, like for the first couple of weeks or whatever, till like a certain, like it's a really short week where it cells and then it starts to develop. So it's like that's where I'm a little but I understand like where you come from, and you saying like to a certain extent you can agree with it.
Agree with what?
Like when abortion is is okay.
Oh, right, I guess. But I wouldn't say like
like it's not okay, but like it's reasonable.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that like the amount of like how far along the pregnancy is what makes it reasonable in any case, right? I think if you abort it at any point that it's inside the woman, it's unreasonable, because it will grow to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, and then eventually out of you. And stopping that process, no matter where you're stopping it at, I think stopping that process
Can I cut in here?
What's up?
Yeah. So it sounds like with your reasoning, you're implying that it's not a human life yet. At some point after conception.
Are you talking to me?
Talking to John.
Oh.
I think it's a human life. I don't know if it has personhood, but I would say it's a human life.
So it doesn't. So, yeah. So if it doesn't have personhood and you're killing it, you're not killing a person. So that's where I'm confused.
Right. I wouldn't say it's the exact same as killing like me, because I do have personhood. I'm no longer attached to my mother, right? But I don't think someone being attached to someone else would justify killing that thing, you know, especially if you know for a fact that it will eventually detach.
But so like, what's the difference between like 2 days after conception and a collection of skin cells?
2 days after conception and just a random collection of skin cells, like not a embryo or whatever.
Like they're both human cells.
Right, yeah. Because 2 days after conception, that thing is going to keep growing and keep developing into a full-grown baby.
But you agree that the potential for life isn't life, right?
I think it's life, but I think the reason you say
Human
potential
life.
for life is because it's not actually living out its life. It's just alive.
So you morally object the idea of killing potential human life.
Yeah, sure. Brianna, I'll add you after this one.
So like, does that include like masturbation? Does that include like women who like surgically inseminate themselves when they go to like fertility clinics?
I think I understood the first point you're making. The second one, I don't get. Like, are you saying if they surgically inseminate themselves and then abort it? Or-
Yeah, there are women who are not, they're not fertile, so they basically like spam conception, and these babies are dying over and over and over again. So did they just kill like 20 babies?
No, I think it's only killing if the growth and development, like the whole process, is began or beginning. If that process hasn't began or beginning, you're not really doing anything.
Yeah, it begins, but it's just not hospitable to the embryo.
Right. So let's say with the right, you're not doing anything because those lives were never going to grow and develop into something else. And doing that action isn't going to stop it from going and growing.
No, they have the potential to. That's why they spam it, and eventually they get a child.
Yeah, they have the potential to, but it isn't like growing and developing at that point. I think once it starts growing and developing, which is once it's inside the woman, is when it becomes immoral. Because
Yeah,
that's when something.
that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're bringing embryos into women. They're artificially inseminating these women, and then they know that there's a great chance that the baby will die, and they're doing this in mass. Are they committing genocide? That's what I'm asking you. That to me, that would be logically consistent from your point of view that they're committing genocide.
Right. Can you ask the question again?
Yeah. So women who are artificially inseminating themselves because they're not very fertile, they know that the baby probably won't live, and I don't know how many times they do it, but they do it a series of they have a series of failed pregnancies until it actually a viable pregnancy happens, and they know that just statistically a lot of these babies are going to die, and they're doing this over and over and over again.
Oh, so
So
you're
is that
saying like
genocide?
if, huh?
Yeah. So is that genocide?
So you're saying if the woman does get pregnant, but then the baby ends up dying in the womb, and she knows that that was most likely to happen, and she's just trying to get one of those chances or one of
Yeah.
those.
Is it like negligent murder? That's what I'm asking.
Then yes, of course.
Got it.
Okay, so since what's it called? Oh my gosh, I was gonna say something I forgot. Wait. Okay, so like I'm not like pro abortion, like, oh, like you chose to have sex like without a condom and then you find out you're pregnant and now you want an abortion. I'm not for that. Like I'm mainly for like medical, like personal, you know, like the R word. You know, if you can't support it, like I understand people are saying like adoption too, but in order to have the baby, like at the hospital and all that, like it does cost like some type of money.
Right.
So it's like if you have no other option, then I feel like it's not right, but it's kind of your only option.
I see. Well, they don't like forcefully kill your baby if you don't have the money to pay up, you know?
No, yeah, I understand that. Like I'm saying like wait, like what do you mean by that?
Like, let's say you're laying in the hospital bed in labor, maybe not in labor, maybe before, right? If you're laying in the hospital bed, you're like, hey, this person's kind of broke. Like, should we just dive in there and, you know?
No,
like-
yeah, I understand that. Like I'm saying like it costs money to like have the baby, so it would be kind of like stressful or like kind of a hard thing to do if you know you have to like pay. Like I'm not saying the doctors in the hospital would, you know, handle that situation by themselves, you know, but I'm saying like it would be kind of a hard thing to like go through, I guess. But yeah, I understand your points and like your like agreement on it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk and add in like about what Thomas was saying, because he was saying like a fully developed, like born, like either a baby is about to be born or it's like already like a newborn compared to, you know, barely created. So it's like it was a little bit off to me, because it's like that's like the baby is breathed, like it's considered a baby at that point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, I think point you were making before with, about how like maybe they don't have the money or resources to actually give birth or take care of that baby, it would be exactly what I explained to the girl before you guys. Just like, even though that baby's gonna have a hard life, doesn't mean that it's justified to kill it to stop it from having that hard life, you know?
Yeah.
All right. You guys' time is up, but thank you both for coming on here.
All right, thank you. You too.
Have good days, both of you guys.
You too.
Okay, Brianna and Sean, I'll bring you on right after.
My daddy, thank you so much, sir. God bless you, sir. The bash, thank you so much. Thank you. She sir, God bless you.
What is the audio?
Oloshi.
Is this on my audio?
What's
going on here?
Fumido, thank you so much, sir.
Can you hear me?
Like, going in your follow there for.
Hold on, give me 1 second. I think my phone's fucking glitching.
I think you need to leave and rejoin the live stream, or like scroll on your feed and then come back to this and join back up, because it sounds like there's another.
I'll try. Yeah.
Okay, Sean, I'm gonna add you. You're gonna have 7 minutes, okay?
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been here for a little bit, and I've heard a lot of your perspective. And I think my biggest like argument against it would be like your biggest point is like will be, like what something will be. Yeah. Which just isn't what it is, though, is my point. Like when you look at like embryo, and like it could be a kid, but it isn't at that point, you know?
Right.
And I just can't get it like my head around like how do you like process that point?
Well, I think there's a strong connection between the present and a future that you know is most likely to happen, you know? kind of like how right now, right? You don't know that you're going to be alive tomorrow, but you know that most likely you are. You know, you think most likely you're not going to die in your sleep, right? So you take that chance and go to sleep. You know, it's just making a strong connection between the present and the future. What is most likely to happen, and if someone else sees, hey, this guy's most likely to be alive tomorrow, I'm going to stop that. Shoots you in your sleep. You know, that's not good.
Okay. I mean, I get that to a degree, but like for the most part, in a lot of like situations in life, we look at the cards, as they lay. You know what I mean? Like when we look at a certain individual, like you mentioned, like babies. Like when we look at a baby, we're looking at what that being is based off like, you typically the past. Like when you look at a person, their career, their whatnot, you're looking at the past rather than like the immediate future.
Mm-hmm.
And so like
Yeah, I think even then, there's still a strong connection to be made with just about every pregnancy between the present and the future, right? Even for the woman, like if a woman gets pregnant and the doctor says, "Hey, this pregnancy isn't going to be like medically viable, like you're probably going to die during childbirth," then the lady gets an abortion, right? You're making a decision based on the most likely future, and since the most likely future, a lot of times for abortion is that they would have to give birth, and they don't want to do that, then they get an abortion, and I think that's wrong to do that.
okay, you also said that like you said that an abortion would still be wrong in the situation in which the parent would die.
Sorry, say that again.
You said that an abortion would still be like wrong, like morally wrong, in a situation in which the parent would die. Correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really have to disagree with that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it puts into question like what life, like what someone's life is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the amount of struggles in like every instance could basically lead to death again.
Mm-hmm. So, you're saying like lead to death for the baby that was born?
Yeah, for the baby. Like they're unable to really live.
Unable to? What do you mean?
Like what would you expect someone like say a baby is born and essentially that parent was the only real connection to that baby. What do you expect to happen with that baby?
It would go into the system, sadly.
Yeah, and then they would be processed through the system, and in a lot of cases, kids aren't able to really like I feel like it's not a great like development area, and I feel like it's kind of punishing to put a kid through that.
Well, I agree, but I would call it more punishing to make sure that kid never has the life to live in the first place. I think the only circumstance in which maybe you should have gotten an abortion in the first place, instead of the baby going into foster care or whatever, right, the system in general, would be if that baby then grows up to then right, as well as wish it was never born and not cherish any of the memories that it has, because then it's like, well, if he was just going to die anyways and wish he was never born, maybe it would have just saved everyone the trouble if you just did it way back then. But 99.99% of the time, that's not the case. People, even if they do grow up in the system or live in very harsh conditions, bad circumstances, they would prefer to be alive, right? Of course, they would prefer to be alive in better circumstances, but still, they would prefer to be alive to dead,
I guess. I mean, I guess. What would be your opinion on like mercy kills, like a old elderly individual in like a nursing home that can like paralyze and whatnot? What's your opinion on that?
Kill him. I don't know. I don't care.
Like, but that's like a similar instance of a being unable to process certain things and would be
Right.
left in a bad situation afterwards if you
Yeah.
didn't kill them.
But that 90-year-old person who's like paralyzed has lived 90 years of life, whereas the fetus hasn't lived any, and I think everyone has the right to life.
And by everyone, you would mean just like a being conceived.
Let's see. Yeah, I would say everyone has the right to experience life. Let me change it to that, because I think like if there's a serial child liker, right? Kill that guy. He doesn't have the right to life anymore because he was doing bad shit, you know. But I think everyone has the right to experience life in the first place.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I don't think I have any other arguments. I just personally don't agree on some like personal level stuff, but I get where you're coming from to a degree.
You did a great job, Sean.
Yeah, you too.
All right, have a good day, dude.
You too.
Okay. Oh, I don't think Brianna's even in here anymore. I'm sorry about that, Brianna. Okay. Who's next? First person I see say me. That's the first person I'm gonna add on. Okay. I'll add 2 people at a time. You both get 10 minutes shared between the both of you. First 2 people who say me, I'll just add you guys on. Okay. Add Nana. Okay, nobody's saying me, so I'm gonna add Nana. Is there a request in here for her? Right. There's no request for Nana. Let's see. No. Yeah, I don't see Nana in the live. Sorry about that.
Oh my god, hey.
Hey, all right, you got 7 minutes, okay?
Wait, what'd you say?
7 minutes.
Okay. So you're anti-abortion, but are you anti-choice?
It depends on the circumstance. I think if you're a minor, then get all the abortions you want to.
Okay, so you're for legislation that restricts abortions, like you're against Roe v. Wade? You're against the protections under Roe v. Wade?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was watching your live earlier. I was just kind of thinking of the argument that like you're aware that other people have like different moral views, like different perceptions of the world that when life starts and when personhood should be given to a person or to like a fetus or something like that. Whenever sentience, what you place, you give personhood to someone at conception, right?
I don't know about personhood since they're still attached to their mother, but I would call it a human life, yeah.
Okay. So I pretty much just want to narrow down the pro-choice aspect because I think it's like a completely valid thing to place value in a fetus and to be personally against abortion, but I think it's immoral to enact those beliefs on other people and to make sure like they can't really have that kind of conversation, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of confused by what you just said.
I'm pretty much saying that it's okay to be.
Add a minute for your time so that you can explain again because that's my fault that I didn't really get what you were saying.
Okay, I just think it's okay to be pro-life, but I think it's not okay whenever your moral beliefs go on to other people's lives, which being pro-choice being pro-choice doesn't mean you're like pro-abortion. It just means you're pro for having the choice to do it. Yeah. Like it takes both sides of the moral spectrum, and being pro-life just kind of invalidates more than half of the population.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'd say to give you perspective from my side, right? I'm gonna go back to like the Holocaust example, right? So like we can both agree that the Holocaust was bad because we can both see that as murder, right?
Yeah.
So, the way I see it, getting abortions is murdering babies, or stopping babies from ever having conscious experiences in general, you know? And I think that's a super bad thing. So I think I should be able to express my opinion about that since it's so immoral, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, but I completely understand that thing about how you see something wrong is happening, and you see like some similarities, or yeah, it's a good example is what I'm saying. But wait, sorry, could you just repeat that so I can get my thought process going? Sorry, I'm sleepy.
So, no, you're okay. So my morals, right? Like if I saw someone killing someone else, I would say, hey, that's bad. I don't think you should do that. And then say, well, actually, this doesn't involve you at all. It's not your body. It doesn't affect you in a bad way. It doesn't affect you at all. And I said, well, I still think it's a super bad thing, which is why I'm expressing my opinion on it. I think I'm okay. I think I'm allowed to express my opinion on it if it's like super, super immoral, you know? I think baby murder is super, super immoral. I see abortion as baby murder, you know?
Yes. But I think with this issue specifically, abortion, it's like a really niche thing. It's not, it can't be simplified to murder, you know, just because murder is it's more implied, or not implied, it's more specifically like a developed human life, and a fetus, you know, I think they get brain waves and like a heartbeat of like 6 to 8 weeks. And it's kind of just when each person has that moral view of when it becomes a person. And that's why it's a lot different from murder, where I think just taking all of the point of views into consideration, where if you're pro-choice, that's what it does. Because since it isn't as simple as just murdering a baby, or like stopping the baby from ever existing, you know, or living its life. And I remember earlier you were saying that it's wrong because even if you're stopping the baby from having that kind of bad experience, you're making that argument, the baby would still want to, or the person would still want to live. You know, they want to be alive. Even though it's a bad experience, they wouldn't just want to end their life.
Yeah.
But that's the other point of view, is that the fetus doesn't really have that kind of conscious experience to want or not want anything by the time it actually gains, you know, sentience by, like, I think the 24 week mark. Right. I think that's when it gets tricky, when you use it in legislation and try to enforce that kind of things. You know.
I'd say there's a strong connection to be made between the present and the future, right? So even though in the present it doesn't know what it wants, it doesn't even know what life is, so it's not going to miss it, of course, right? You know that there's a 99.99% chance that it does want to experience and live life instead of die, right? Like, well, not does want to, but will want to, right? And you're taking away the chance of that ever happening.
Yeah, and there's also, you know, that kind of the arguments about, you know, pulling the plug. What's your stance on that?
Pulling the plug, like on someone in a coma?
Yeah, someone's been in a coma for say 5 years. They're like 70 years old. What's your view on that?
Pull it. I don't care.
Pull it. Okay. That's kind of the thing with, like, you know, murdering that person, because even though they don't really have that, like, in the future, there is that chance, well, they will wake up and they would want to be alive. Right. You know,
if they're 70, let's say the reason you're pulling it is because of time and resources and everything, right? Pulling it, I would say, is like morally neutral, because they're taking up stuff without actually like having conscious experience, right? And you're not even sure if they're ever going to wake up. They've been in a coma for 5 years, 70 years old now, you know? But in the case that they're at like a super advanced hospital, they're not really wasting anyone's time or like taking up any resources that aren't going to be replenished. Then it would be immoral to pull the plug on that person, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it is immoral to pull the plug on that person, I wouldn't really care because they're 70 years old, you know? But that's just me. I'm not saying that you should never do that, you know? Or always do that, you know?
Okay. Yeah, it's just the main point I'm trying to hone in on is just taking account that your beliefs may not be the... Yeah, I had like a really good thought process when you're saying this stuff, you know, and then it's hard whenever it's after.
Well, your time is up, but if there's like one more guest request, I'm gonna talk to that person. If there's no more after that, I'll add you back. And when you start having a thought process, try to write some down and yeah. Okay?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick. I really respect like how you're doing this. You're really like carrying yourself well, even though it's not really, even it's like not something a lot of people agree with. You're taking account with everything, and you're taking everything with like a good heart. Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you. You too, man. You did a great job. I hope you have a good day.
You too.
Okay, Mel, you get 7 minutes, okay?
Okay, perfect. It'll be really fast. Sorry if I'm too quiet. It's kind of late or it's early. So, coming from the healthcare perspective, how do you feel about the lawmakers potentially like adding loopholes to the term abortion? So then we see real life examples of doctors being afraid to perform certain procedures, for example, like a DNC, dilation and curation, curate. How do you feel about that? And when, like, how do we decide the actual definition and what people can and can't do?
Let's see. I don't know. I'd never really thought about what the lawmakers might do or how people might add loopholes or any of that stuff. I just know my position, my moral position, right? And that's really what I defend here. I never put like any thought into what might happen logistically if a nationwide abortion ban was caused, other than like how the abortions would go down. And that's my main goal, is just to make abortions in general go down, you know?
Yeah. Do you think if people were, sorry, brain, do you think if they were more educated in women's health, like if we potentially lobbied for that, they would have a better understanding of that? Because I feel like even with myself, I'm still learning things. Sorry, I am a woman, I'm a cis woman. I'm still learning things about my body that I'm almost 30. I'm like, oh, like no one ever told me this. Do you think if we like maybe put a little bit more into health classes, like actually having a sexual health class, do you think that would help lower that number? Or I guess what would your steps be to lower abortions? Because I feel like if people were more educated and they had better resources, then that would lead to less abortions.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that, and I also agree that people should definitely be better educated. School systems should do a better job at educating people about their bodies and about pregnancy and about abortions and everything, all of that. Yeah, agree with basically everything you just said.
Okay, cool beans. Okay, that was it.
All right, thank you, Mel. You did a good job.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So, if anybody else wants to be brought on, then request. And if you just want to stick to typing comments, I will be replying to comments right now until there's another guest request. I'll add on whoever requests. Okay. Let's see. Wait. Hold on. What was? It was funny, KK. I was smiling while she was talking. I don't know. It was funny. My bad. Though not confirmed if the pills had a part in it, she did die from acute. So, are you like? Is this a multiple part thing? Oh, you're talking to somewhere else, huh? When you're saying that. How old are you? 18. All right. Also, if anybody wants to have a one-on-one discussion, but can't do it right now, or you don't want to do it on the live stream, add me on Discord. I'm gonna type my Discord in the chat. Just add me on there. It's dying*X, no capitals, no spaces. There it is. Add me on Discord. Ask your questions. Call me. Do whatever, and we will have a discussion. I will answer your questions or have a debate with you. No, I'm just saying in general. You should read it too. Oh, okay. I'll read it. Amber Thurman first named preventable abortion death since bans. I gotta read that again. Sorry. First named preventable abortion death since bans. Okay. Where is it? They're not confirmed if the pills had a part in it. She did die from acute severe sepsis, but her death could have been prevented had she gotten an abortion. There was still fetus inside of her, causing her to have acute severe sepsis, and since she didn't. Yeah. I think that's very, very sad for that lady. That is one of the worst situations someone can possibly get into. So why did you decide to talk about this topic? Is this something you're passionate about, or yeah, sort of. Co-host. I don't know who this person is, but it says someone who's trying to co-host. So. Okay, guys. Okay, wait. Okay, how do I stop this from happening? What's going on? I don't know what that was. I don't know. That's the first time. I don't know. This is the very first live that I've ever been able to invite guests on and invite co-hosts. I didn't know what that was. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of passionate about it. Main reason I'm talking about it is just to start a discussion between one side and another. You know, I can see pro-choice side better, and the other side can see my side better, hopefully.
Yo,
Hello.
yeah, the way to fix your screen, you see how you got all these boxes? Just click on your box, and then you should see an enlarging button, and you can bring yourself back to full screen.
All right, cool. Thank you. Sorry, someone in the chat said, "Are you anti-vasectomy?" No, I'm not.
Okay, so you're pro-life?
Yep.
Okay, is there justification for that?
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, you know they can't see your background, right?
What?
The viewers can't see the background.
Right. Sorry, I was typing. Okay. So sorry. What were you saying? Is there any justification for being pro-life for me?
Correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say it's because I see, getting an abortion as ending a fetus or parasite or whatever you want to call it, right? It's ending a life in general, a human life, and stopping it from ever developing into a human baby and a human child and a human teenager and living out their full life.
Okay, what makes something a human?
The type of cells it is, I guess. Cells it's made up of.
The cells. Okay. So it sounds like there was echo, my bad. But okay. So does the fetus wait, are you only against unaliving humans or life?
Well, not all life. I'm
Oh.
fine with unaliving pigs or flowers, right? But humans in general, I think is wrong.
And what's the symmetry breaker there from all life and humans?
Because humans have conscious experiences beyond any other animal or plant life or anything like that, or will have that conscious experience, whereas an animal or plant life won't, like ever.
Okay, when do we see consciousness within a fetus? When does the fetus get consciousness?
I don't know. I thought it was like in the third. What is it? I don't know. Third something. Three out of 4. What is it? I don't know. But then again, thank you for the rose, KK. You're my best viewer, KK. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong to end consciousness. I'm saying it's wrong to stop something from ever having consciousness, right? And if it already has consciousness, it's wrong from stopping it. It's wrong to stop it from having a conscious experience.
Wait, so you don't think people have the rights to their own body?
Of course, I think people have the rights to their own body, but if there's another body growing inside of you, I don't think you have the right to stop them from ever experiencing life.
Right. So like if pregnancy was going to inflict physical, mental, psychological kind of pain to said subject, you're telling me that they still should have this baby after having to go through that?
Yes, because I don't think a baby's life is worth your mental well-being or trauma or pain or whatever you might go through. I think you'll still live after it, and so will the baby, and that's a good thing because 2 lives are being lived even though one of them might be worse off.
So it appears like some kind of special pleading. So you're telling me like a woman, right? She has the right to her own body, but even if she's going crazy or she might unalive or the baby in the body is causing her massive pain, right? That she should still just endure this for the sake of another human life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fair. So, and you
I
feel
think
this
human life
law.
is super valuable, and I think everyone deserves. I think everyone has a human right to experience life.
Okay, so right now, if you let's say that like men were able to have babies, right? Right now, you're about to have a baby, and then if you have this baby, you will unalive, or you unalive the baby and save yourself. So, do you unalive the baby, or do you?
I would let myself die to give the baby a chance to live. Just like if someone was holding a gun to my head, right? Gun to baby's head, I'd say, hey, kill me instead, right? Because the baby hasn't lived like nearly as long as I have yet, and I would feel terrible if I got to survive and the baby didn't. I would be like, holy crap, that baby was like what, a year old, and it didn't get to live or experience anything when I have. Like I would
Okay.
feel super selfish for doing that.
Let's just like test how far you can actually stand with this position, right? So this is
Okay.
just a hypothetical. It's a logical reasoning, right? Hypothetically, a woman is in a enclosed desert, right? There's nobody but the woman, and she's pregnant. So she only has food enough to feed herself. There's no breastfeeding, right? It's just enough food for one person. Does she unalive herself to save the baby? Or
No,
does she unalive the baby to save herself?
she should unalive the baby to save herself, because if she unalived herself to save the baby wouldn't live
Okay,
past life.
perfect. So in some situations, you view abortion as permissible or
No,
necessary?
because that's not a realistic situation. That
It,
never happens.
that's not true. That is a realistic situation. It's just a hypothetical that you can imagine. The point I'm highlighting is in certain circumstances, right, there are plausible reasons to unalive a baby for the sake of your own life. So you're saying just because our community is a set way that this woman should go through trauma, potentially unaliving just to save a baby or a
Okay,
fetus.
so my stance applies to the vast majority of abortions that happen, right? Any abortion that happens under a government, right? Where also any abortion that happens where it's not only the mother and the baby and they're in a deserted area where there's literally no one else around, right? That like never happens. And if it does happen, it happens like what, once every 50 years, okay? That's like such an unlikely and unrealistic scenario that sure you could say, okay, yeah, I'm anti-abortion except for in this one thing that might happen like once every 50 to
No,
75
there's
years.
probably so many other reasons why you're anti-abortion. It just appears like it's some special pleading. Also, do you support women getting raped, like forcefully raped, and
Not
then
at all.
keeping the baby?
Oh, keeping the baby, yes, of course, because I don't think that baby has any of a less of a right to life as someone who was the product of a consensual act.
And this follows for incest too?
Yeah, as long as they're 18 plus, yeah.
Wow. You have a different framework here, this like moral standard. It's like
Well, there,
almost like if someone does something to your body, you're willing to like allow that thing to grow and you unwillingly or unconsensually allow someone to force something in your body and then make you have to go through that pain.
right, so every human at one point, every human on Earth was at one point in that stage where they were developing in their mother's body, right? And I don't think the circumstances that happened under, I don't think like the way that you came into this Earth should determine how valuable your life is.
Yeah, it seems like you're only valuing life on said DNA. Like you've told me that you value human life, and all human life is a set pattern of DNA. And I don't see a symmetry breaker from human life and plant life. So it's like some special pleading that these things
Okay,
are
but
better than others.
you don't see a symmetry. Well, I mean, you're not gonna get pregnant and then the baby ends up growing into a flower or like a pig, right? It's gonna grow into a human
Yeah,
baby.
but with
Where,
incest, like the baby has deformities, right? Like you know what incest entails?
right,
Like the
even if
baby
the
might
baby
come
has
out with the R word.
even if the baby has deformities, I think it still deserves to live. I don't think just because they might have
Right.
Well, I don't believe in these.
unnecessary harm on a child. You would put something on this earth where it's purposefully gonna have these said deformities that might enact trauma on a child and the mother. So these are like non-beneficial things to
Okay,
society.
do you know what eugenics is? I think it's generally considered amongst the vast majority of the population as immoral to kill someone because you see them as less valuable as someone else, right? Or like kill a disabled person while they're in the womb because they're
No,
disabled.
that's not the case. It's like here's the thing. If a woman is raped through incest, right? You already know what incest does to one's genes and genetics and things of that nature. So allowing something to come into this earth, first of all, unconsensually with knowing problems, you just view it to like stop it at the early stage before it gets consciousness.
Sorry, I gotta turn up my phone a bit. Can you repeat that?
I said, yeah, like what was the word I use? Incest. We know what that entails. If a woman is raped through incest, bringing a woman unwillingly doing that, and then a baby with deformities into the world would be unbeneficial on both parties. So to stop it before there's consciousness.
Right. So I don't think just because someone is going to be born with a disability, no matter what that disability may be, that gives you the right to kill them before they're born. Because I'm sure once they are born, even though they do have a disability, they would prefer to be alive than dead.
Wait, what makes a human valuable?
The fact that it's a human.
That's circular.
Well, I mean, I don't get where you're going with this. Like, I think there's many things that makes a human valuable, and all of that is included under the umbrella of it being a human in
I
general.
want to know what that entails because, like, I want to know how you're coming to this conclusion that even if a woman is raped, that this thing that's put in her body must stay in her body unwillingly. What makes this thing so valuable?
The fact that it will eventually have a conscious experience, just like you are right now.
Wait, and then what is consciousness?
I don't know. I don't think anybody has been able to define consciousness. I think
I
that's
can define consciousness very easily. It's very simple.
I thought that was like a common known thing that like scientists have trouble
No, we know
agreeing
what
on a definition
consciousness
for
is.
consciousness. You can provide your own definition for consciousness, but at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
I
it's
can.
not gonna be
Actually, I'll just provide the Oxford definition. 1 second.
okay.
Okay, Oxford states consciousness is aware of and responding to one's surroundings, awake. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say before I read that. That's fun. So yeah, so I mean, when does this fetus become aware of and responding to one's surroundings and awake?
I know it's sometime during development while it's still in the womb, and I know that's a fact, but I don't know specifically when that is. But I'm sure you could look it up.
Okay, well here's like the issue with the argument. You said you value humans' life because they will or because they are or will become conscious, but we can see other things than humans to be conscious. Therefore, you must also equally value those said objects at
No,
the same standard of a human, unless we have special pleading fallacy.
no, because humans are nowhere near the same level as consciousness as anything else on Earth.
Prove it.
Well, the fact that we're talking to each other on phones, on TikTok Live, and no other species on the planet has ever been able to achieve anything even remotely close to this, I think is substantial evidence.
Yeah, I mean, other animals do crazy outlandish things that we can't do.
Like what?
Like what? I mean,
I mean,
the hearing.
physically, of course, but like,
Exactly.
what, like camouflage?
Even crazier things. But yeah, so like you're saying that
Okay,
humans.
then, okay, are you vegan or vegetarian?
Yeah, I am.
So do you see that animals and plant life and whatever, anything that may have consciousness on this earth is
I think
equally-
all living beings should be upheld to the same standard for sure.
Wow. I don't think like anybody agrees with that, but
That's faulty.
do you think that all living things that have consciousness, just general consciousness, all have the same value of life?
Of course.
You think
Who are
there's
you to
any
have more?
difference?
But like, who are you to have more value than something else?
Do you think there's any difference at all between killing your next door neighbor and smushing an ant on the windowsill?
In respects to morality, I mean, if we're being intellectually honest, no.
Okay. If you don't think there's like any difference in that, I
No,
don't.
I'm saying like obviously I oppose the notion that like unaliving a human is like worse than unaliving an ant, obviously for the progression of society, right?
Why is
But
that?
it doesn't make it any better.
Okay, why is it worse?
Yeah, I just said for the progression of society, right? So like if we're just unaliving humans how we do ants, then like I'm still gonna oppose to my species, but like
Okay, what about if your next door neighbor is paralyzed?
what about it?
Would you murder him the same as you would murder an ant? Assuming
Yeah,
there's
but
no
I
consequences?
don't oppose to unjustified slaughter. I'm not just going to slaughter people.
Okay, if
So where
someone
is this
killed
going?
if someone else killed your next door paralyzed neighbor or an ant, would you
Uh-huh.
be like, oh wow, he just murdered two things? That's equal. Oh my goodness.
No, so and then you're using the M word, right? You're supposed to say schmurder on TikTok, by the way,
Okay.
for
Okay,
rules and
thank you for that.
regulations. Yeah, but so like when we're using this schmurder word, it usually entails unjustified reasons, or like yeah, so like if you're just going around unaliving mass ants, that is the same bad thing as unaliving a human. You don't just unalive. Did you know people can't
Okay,
just
so
beat their dogs? Like
I
you're
think
gonna
it's
go to
very wrong to beat
jail.
your dog. But I'm saying like if someone unjustified saw an ant on the windowsill and was like, wow, an ant, that annoys me, killed it, right? And then they saw a
It's
paralyzed
still not good under
neighbor,
my worldview.
right? But do you see it as equally not good?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because I just oppose to my species being preserved over another's.
Do you have any reason for that, or it's just like a bias that's just ingrained in your head?
No, I mean like yeah, like I'm just pro life in this regard. So like
Hmm.
we want to progress the human race and not degress the human race.
Right. So,
That's the argument, I guess. I guess it would be unbeneficial to society.
right.
But I
So,
don't.
a paralyzed person isn't progressing the human race in any way.
No, but like yeah, so like a paralyzed person doesn't equate to schmurder.
If you
So
kill a
like when you
paralyzed
say
person,
you're
it's
gonna go
not.
step on an ant, then what's the scenario for the paralyzed person? Like you're just gonna go unalive the paralyzed person? You accidentally unalive a paralyzed person, and then no. So it's like and what you're doing here is just a false equivocation. But with this fetus,
Well, I
if
don't
you
think it's equal at all. But you said that you see all forms of consciousness as equal and the same, and you don't think humans are any more conscious than any other living being on this planet.
no, I never said any more conscious. I don't even know what any more conscious really means. If you're just
I
being
think humans are on a
sophisticated.
higher level of consciousness than pigs are. You said you disagree with that earlier,
No,
right?
no. That wasn't the claim. That's just straw man. I'm saying I agree that we might be more sophisticated, complex, due to evolution, right? But that doesn't mean like they're beneath us in a sense of authority. Like we don't just abuse said power and slaughter these things.
Okay, then why are you pro-choice?
Oh yeah, because I like I said, women have the rights to their autonomy, to their body, and if something's interjected in their body unwillingly, I don't care if it's another what you deem life. If that person doesn't want that in their body, they have the right to remove that out their body. It's their body, right? So you don't just stuff another body in their body and say you must grow this body.
I
That's
see
just
what
how I
you're
look
saying.
at it.
So, do you think that um, because someone depends on someone else, like being attached to their body to survive, it means that that person who is attached to their body is no longer
I
valuable?
don't care if something's in my body that's causing me harm. There's no thugging it through and you'll make it. No, if you're in my body, you're causing me harm. Just how if you have a disease, a sickness, you remove that out your body. You don't just. I don't care if it's a life, right? So it's like, who are you to tell me what should be in my body? Where's the argument for that? Who has that authority?
Well, in my opinion, you should let that human baby live
Why?
because eventually it will have a conscious experience in the same capacity as you are
Who
right now.
cares?
Okay, you've been on here for a very long time, and I have another guest request, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Hope you have a good day. What's up, Blake?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Good. After this, I'm probably gonna get off live. I've been on here for a while now, but what's up?
So I agree with most of your points, but I disagree with your point in terms of grape. So you said that one of the reasons why you think abortion is wrong is people should be responsible for. Basically, you said that I don't know if I'm allowed to say. When people have intercourse, right?
Oh yeah, you're good.
When people have intercourse, a child is the consequence of that. Therefore, they should be responsible, which I agree with. But when a woman is raped, she's not. That's not her choice, right? It's against her will. Therefore, she shouldn't be held responsible for that.
Yeah. I don't think it's like taking responsibility for your actions in that case, of course. I think it's. Oh, sorry. It said you disconnected for a second.
Okay.
In that case, I think that it would be more just putting that baby's or fetus or whatever you want to call it, right? Putting that baby's right to life above your own what's it called? Quality of life.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So my like, for example, hypothetically, right? If I was somehow able to like hack into your bank account and put you in debt, right? Should you be responsible for getting yourself out of debt?
No.
Okay, so why should a woman be responsible for a choice that she didn't make, right?
Because if she does abort the baby, that is the result of that R word, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is taking a human life. So if I let's say I had $50,000 in my bank account and you drained the whole thing, and I said, dude, why did you do that? And then you just run away and giggle, right?
Right.
And the only way to get that $50,000 back was for me to kill another person, I wouldn't do it. You know?
Right, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, I guess that does make sense, but do you think, okay, so you think that to save a life that you should take responsibility for something that you didn't choose?
To save a life, depending on how old that person is, yeah.
Why is it dependent on how the age of the person?
Because, like, if you got, let's say you got R-worded, right, and you got pregnant with a 90-year-old baby, right, even though that doesn't make any sense at all, right, just hypothetically. If you got pregnant with a 90-year-old, right, it's like, well, fine, they've lived for 90 years. I don't really see them as too valuable.
Okay, so why is it wrong to abort like a fetus, but not wrong to abort a hypothetical 90-year-old baby?
That's funny. Because the fetus has yet to experience life at all, and I think every human being has the right to experience life.
So once you experience life, your life now becomes less valuable?
I wouldn't say it becomes less valuable. I would just say that you have the right to do that. And I would say the older you get, very, very gradually, of course, but the older you get, the less valuable your life becomes. Meaning someone would be a lot more hesitant to kill a 5-year-old versus a 95-year-old, you know? I think everyone agrees on that.
I would disagree with that, but I guess that's not the topic at hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess my only contention would be that I don't think a woman should be forced to have a pregnancy that she didn't willingly decide to have.
That makes sense.
I don't know if we're gonna get anywhere with that. I think we just disagree.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey man, good job.
Yeah.
Hope you have a good day.
Yeah, I'll talk to you at some other point, man.
All right, cool.
Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah. All right. Again, For anybody in the live, I'm about to get off live right now, but if you feel like having a one-on-one conversation with me, you want to ask questions, you feel like I wasn't answering your questions, or you want to have a debate with me, or you want to discuss more about this with me in any way, right? Add me on Discord. My Discord is dying*x, no spaces, no capitals. I'm going to type it in the chat right now. Add me on Discord. I will accept all friend requests after this live and answer all your questions and chat it up with all of you guys if you want to. Thank you for liking the live, everybody, especially you, KK. I see that you're liking the live a lot. Thank you for the viewer, KK. Great viewer, great viewer, great viewer. All right, I'm going to set like a 1 minute timer. Last introductions, read the chat a little bit, and after the 1 minute, I'll be gone, okay? Lana just literally almost threw up when she said it's a woman's body. Wow. I'm on Blake's side. Is she still in live? I don't think she is. I would argue with her, but I don't think she's even alive anymore. Alright, guys. No men should have an opinion, but of course some of y'all gotta do all that to prove your unwanted point. Right, so, I'm not comparing abortion to, the Holocaust, right? But I'm gonna make a comparison here just to get you to see my side, right? I see abortion as murder. You see the Holocaust as murder. You probably think the Holocaust was super bad, but what if someone who didn't see the Holocaust as murder told you, well, you know, Holocaust actually didn't affect you in any way. You shouldn't have an opinion on it. It's like, well, dude, I still think it was an insanely immoral thing to do. Same where I think that abortion is an insanely immoral thing to do. That's why I speak on it. Everyone's opinions and beliefs are valid, though. I agree with that, KK. All right, everyone, I hope you all have good days, good nights, whatever time it is for you. Thank you all for joining the live and talking to me and talking with me and everything. Thank you, KK, for the rose and for liking the live a bunch. All right, everybody, goodbye. I will be live again probably tomorrow.